You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
I can't decide what I want to do to start the show today. You know what? Quick 30-second timeout. Buy myself a little bit of time here to decide. Let's get into it with the lead. They shouldn't have been able to challenge that goal. I don't know why more people are talking about this. Welcome into Oilers Nation every day live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. The show, as always, a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Tyler and Liam here for another week full of live shows. And Liam, the last week of live shows until the Oilers are on their Four Nations break. After Friday against Colorado, that's it. We're done.
We're done?
Show's over.
This is breaking news to me. Yeah, which is too bad because the show has been, we've been popping recently.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of new listeners, so thank you very much for all our new listeners that have been joining us recently. It's been a lot of fun to do these shows the last couple of weeks. The Four Nations is really going to put a dampener on things.
I know.
Which is too bad. But I am excited for the Four Nations.
Four Nations.
Facing off.
I also am excited for the Four Nations. Oh, thank you for staying on my ISO while I sneezed horribly. I really appreciate that. We are going to keep doing shows through the Four Nations face-off. They're probably just going to be shorter.
Allegedly.
Well, so the NHL is apparently not putting a roster freeze in place out of the Four Nations.
That. I don't think they should. There's a lot of players not going.
I think they're putting a roster. I think it's one of those. I think it's one of those like, hey, on the off days, sure, but like, you can't trade a guy who's at the Four Nations, can you? That'd be ridiculous.
Do you remember a few years ago, and I know the All-Star Game's a lot different. Obviously, Elias Lindholm was traded at the All-Star Game last year. And there was that one a few years ago in the NBA when DeMarcus Cousins was traded to New Orleans, and it was in New Orleans. Yeah. So we had to go back to Sacramento to come back to New Orleans a couple of days later. I don't know. I think the NHL should get a little crazy here. It already has been. We've seen a lot of trades.
Yeah.
And people are upset about it. I am not. I think it means more players become available.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a little bit here. We have a game from the weekend to talk about. First, just kind of to wrap up my take from the lead, I've always been under the impression that you have, like, the ref goes over to the bench after goals, and it's like, are you challenging? Are you challenging? Yes or no? No? Okay. Yes? Okay. Toronto, like, you cannot challenge a goal after a new event has occurred.
Which is the NHL rule.
Which is the NHL rule, and usually that's the puck drop. Calling a timeout to me is a new event. Like, when you go on NHL.com and you go through the play-by-play, like, it says in the play-by-play that Toronto called the timeout.
Yeah.
So I'm really confused by this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it really... In the moment, I didn't think about it too much, but then now that you mention it, and I see people talking about it online too, it is different to the NFL. At least I know this is a rule where you need timeouts to call challenges. It's not like that in the NHL. Obviously, if you get it wrong, you get a power play out of it. But yeah, you would have thought Toronto would have just challenged it anyway.
So like the way it is listed on the NHL's official record of like the order, visitor timeout, and then a challenge by the visitor offside, and then it is ruled offside. That should not have been allowed to happen. So again, there are many more reasons why the Edmonton Oilers lost that hockey game. But there has not been enough talk, at least outside of Edmonton and like on a national level. If this happened the other way around, oh baby.
Yeah, I think
leading Sports Center with it.
I think they just found a loophole in the system. Because maybe it's a new on ice event. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm confused by my understanding of the rule. But
because credit to Toronto, they found a loophole, then they challenged it. And to be honest, like they could have just challenged it anyway. And it was pretty clear.
It was pretty clear, and they probably do challenge it at that point in the game, anyways. Because like even if if you're wrong and all of a sudden it's tied and you have to give the Oilers a power play, I don't know, but. Again, didn't love it. We'll get to your comments in a little bit here, but first, let's go through that game last night with our scoring summary brought to you by our friends at Charm Diamond Centers. You can get a custom ring built and delivered in less than 4 weeks through Charm and their custom ring policy. I totally blanked on the name there. Anyways, you can also apply for the Charm Diamond Flexity card today and get approved for no interest financing on your purchase in minutes. Go to charmdiamondcenters.com, the Charm Masterpiece program, Liam.
There you go.
We both used it. We should both be able to remember the name.
The Flexity program, I have it. It's
really
awesome. Yeah. Well, I was getting something a little after. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what? Christmas is coming. I got to save my pennies here.
Smart.
Push the problem down the road.
I walked into Charm Diamonds and it was like Randy Moss. Straight cash, homie. Big baller brand.
Yeah, I was there. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah, you were there. I forgot about that. All right, scoring summary from Saturday night. I actually thought the Oilers came out and played like 3 to 4 really good minutes here.
Yeah, I thought so too, and then they gave away a power play.
And then William Nylander finds the back of the net on what was his third good scoring chance. Yes, he went, had the breakaway, Skinner denies him, comes in on that backhander, flying in, Skinner denies him, and then this one goes in. Traffic in front. I totally understand. Find your way around traffic if you're Stuart Skinner. We've ripped him for that in the past. Remember the the Washington goal, when we were like, yes, there's traffic, look around it. You had so much time to get situated. So I didn't love this goal. I didn't hate it either. It's one I could forgive, but then when you look at it in the context of the other goals he gave up, I don't like it.
Were you at the game on Saturday?
No, I was not.
Okay. I thought Kevin Bjorkstrand did a pretty good breakdown of it. I think he did find his way through traffic. William Nylander kind of outdueled him in this one, I think. I mean, it's not a pretty goal by any means, but Skinner made his way around the guy in front, whoever that was, and just he went one way, Nylander went the other. I mean, but like you said, like not a pretty goal, but probably the one that you're okay with going in out of the 4 we allowed, which isn't a good thing either.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, is like the other ones were so bad that it's like if you're going to give up those goals, this one absolutely cannot go in. And we'll have more on Stuart Skinner in a little bit. Matthew Nyes would go on to make the game 2-0 with a power play marker. This is one, and like you can just roll this one, AB, then roll right into the McMahon goal, because I think my beef with them is pretty similar. First off, stay out of the box. I would like to say that. Can't be giving that Leafs team 2 power plays in the first 12 minutes, but like hold on to that puck. If you hold on to that puck, non-conversation, it hits you in the crest. Mm-hmm. Hold on to that puck. This next one, Bobby McMahon, a similar-ish style or similar-ish problem for me. Like the Oilers and Skinner, hold on to that puck. That one hits you in the chest. You can't be spitting a rebound out into the slot. And listen, every time you spit a rebound into the slot, it's not always going to burn you. Sometimes the other team's not going to take advantage of it. Sometimes your defensemen are going to do a great job of boxing out and getting the puck out and jumping on that rebound anyways. Don't care. Back-to-back goals to go in like this, combined with the first one where you don't look through traffic. I am as big of a Stuart Skinner supporter as there is, so before anyone sits here and goes into the comments and tells me that we're too hard on Skinner, we're the one show who's the least hard on Skinner. Some people say it's to a fault.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here right now and telling you they lost this hockey game because of Stuart Skinner.
Oh, I'm 100% agree, and I think we'll have a bigger conversation about it as the show goes on as well. But these two, like, this puck isn't hitting him on the pads and bouncing out. It's hitting him right in the chest. That's got to stick to you.
Yep.
And for it to happen twice so quickly, like, it's just not good enough from him. And the penalty kill actually wasn't too bad either. Like, look where the shots are coming from. You're getting a shot from the point. That's kind of where you want the shots to come from, I guess. Like, you'd defend it a little easier. But, yeah, Skinner didn't give the Oilers enough to go out and win this game on Saturday. And for me, probably the reason they lost, and I think you can make an argument based on all the circumstances, maybe his worst game of the season. Compared to, like, and what I'm throwing into that is, did the Oilers have a good chance to win this game? Were they in the game for the long run? How bad were the goals that he gave up? And like when they gave them up to, like the Mitch Marner one, holy moly. And I know that he kind of walked through a lot of guys too, and you would hope one of your defensemen can maybe slow him down, but you really needed to save that big time, and they just didn't get it.
Yeah, so the Oilers in the second period, to their credit, turn on the Jets. And they dominate Toronto in that middle frame. Shot attempts at 5-on-5, 25-14. If you include the power play, it's 33-15. And Evan Bouchard finds the back of the net, his ninth of the season, an absolutely vintage Bouch bomb. I tweeted, I said, man, do you ever want Evan Bouchard to get his swagger back, right? And this is the stuff he's doing when he has his swagger back. He's got his head up, and he just finds a spot and hammers the puck. Mm-hmm. And Aaron pointed out, like right before this, there was that really, really good play where Bouchard behind his own net has a guy coming at him and just makes that sort of classic little Bouchard one-touch play where he makes it look so easy that he never gets credit for it, but it's like a really, really high-end type of play by a defenseman to make, and a play that, again, goes unnoticed, but getting out of your own end under pressure and the snap of your fingers, that's what Evan Bouchard does best. Let me just also say, the people who were roasting Evan Bouchard because he iced the puck in the first period,
come on,
get a grip.
Yeah.
They were down 3-0. He wasn't on the ice for any of those goals. In fact, in the last 3 games at 5-on-5 with Evan Bouchard on the ice, the Oilers are outscoring the other team 6-2. And when I went and tweeted, like, man, I want Evan Bouchard to find his confidence, I had some people being like, what the f are you talking about? This, that, he's having a great, look at his numbers, all this. I'm kind of in the middle on Bouch. If on one end of the spectrum you have the group that's like, trade him, don't even pay him $6 million.
Holy
on the other side, you do still have a group that's going like Norris caliber, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if this is Norris caliber on this side, I'm like here. I'm more on the side of like he's having a really good year, but I'm also recognizing that this is not the same player that we saw last year. He's lacking a little bit of confidence right now, and him icing the puck twice in the first period, I think is a direct sign of that confidence. When he is on his game and he is feeling himself, he is zipping the puck around and he's not making those mistakes. And what I meant when I thought when I saw him hammer home that puck is like, man, if we get that for the back half of the season, the complaints and the detractors, they're going to go away very, very fast.
Yeah, and that's what he was doing in the playoffs. Like he was showing up in huge moments for the team, and that's why, again, we all heard the debate the other day. I wouldn't consider moving him for the majority of players in the league, and just because the upside with him when he is playing is so good, and like I think he is Norris caliber one day. I don't think he is this season by any means, but if he can have a consistent 82-game season where he has his form, his defensive numbers are actually really good.
If he has a great season, he's a 100-point defenseman, and I will never back down on that.
I completely agree. So, yeah, I'm kind of out on the idea that Bouchard isn't good enough. I think in a game where it was so obvious you missed Matthias Ekholm, he actually stepped up and played a really strong game in a moment the Oilers really needed him the most, and that's what top players do, and he was able to show up.
Yeah. So it's 3-1. They dominate them in the second period, and you're thinking, at least I was, going into the third, they're coming back in this hockey game. Yeah. It had that kind of a vibe to it. And then 18 seconds into the third period, Mitch Marner finds the back of the net off the rush. Also courtesy to, or shout out to Sportsnet for the highlights. Again, they zip the puck up, sure. I do think, again, probably could have been a little bit more could have been quicker on the back pressure. You even see Marner almost giving it the head shake of like, how did that one go in? So the back pressure wasn't great here by the Oilers. Could have been way more aggressive, could have had a much higher sense of urgency here. Again, they zip the puck up through the neutral zone. Like, I don't have any problems until right about here where Matthews is able to make the play and then Nuge stays about a step behind him. But the bottom line is Stuart Skinner has to stop that puck. It's not an overly dangerous chance.
No, it's not. I agree. Not even back pressure in general. Like the guy skates through 3 players, and Mitch Marner is a fantastic player, but there's at least 3 Oilers at fault there, and obviously Skinner being the final one, not being able to stop that puck. And like we said, like I feel like in moments this season, Skinner he's had these games where the Oilers have been down. It's not necessarily always his fault, but they've obviously come back against Colorado. But he was making those saves when the game was kind of coming back in the direction the Oilers needed it to. And like they needed a save so bad here on a chance that wasn't that dangerous, and they didn't get it. And he did not play well at all. And again, I know Naeem put maybe the Minnesota game was his worst game of the season. I mean, either one of them, for me, not good enough for a team that is trying to compete for a Stanley Cup against a team like Toronto, who is also in that spot like the others, were outdueled by Joseph Woll.
And that too, Joseph Woll was great, and more on that in a second. Okay, quickly, Zach Hyman from Nugent-Bouchard makes the game 4-2, and you're thinking, okay, maybe there's an outside shot. There's still 14 minutes to go at this point, and this is the play you were talking about. Like, that Bouchard play Aaron was talking about, that right there it happened so quick, and it's just one touch right to the guy, boom, the Oilers are down the ice, and away they go. That's a really impressive play that not a lot of defensemen can make, as much as it seems subtle. And Joseph Woll gives up a goal that if Stuart Skinner gave up, we'd be roasting him too. Granted, he has 45 saves to go along with his performance, so you cut him a little bit of slack. Corey Perry, the Worm, 10th on the year. Brett Kulak, Leon Draisaitl picking up the points in this one, or picking up the assists in this one, I should say. And again, just nice zone pressure here. Corey Perry, the ageless wonder, up to 10 on the season, and that's just a good veteran player seeing a lane, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, you kind of come around and you look and you're like, ooh, I like the way this screen is set up. all right, I'm going to let her go. And he picked his spot.
Yeah, someone who's seen it before, right? And just
patience
like
too.
Say, get the puck on net. Who knows what's going to happen? And again, not a great goal by Joseph Woll to allow, but a good play by Corey Perry to see the traffic in front and sneak it through. And that's when you thought
Leon Draisaitl would tie up the game. It would get called back, obviously, on the John Klingberg offside. I'll give John Klingberg a bit of a break just because second game in 14 months. But that's borderline inexcusable to me.
Don't move.
Just don't move. Like, and maybe you learn that playing with Connor McDavid, but like, don't move. Just stand there. Let Connor gain the zone. You know he'll do his thing. There was no benefit, but the game happens fast. He hasn't played a ton. But like that's lazy is too harsh of a word. But like, and McDavid has to force out at the last second. The game moves fast. I don't want to roast him too hard, but it's so frustrating that this game goes to overtime if he just stops.
Yeah.
Because that had no 100%. Bearing on the play.
And obviously, credit to the Toronto forward there was that David Kempf, I think it was, like to force McDavid to make that extra move and force the offside. But yeah, you would just want to see Klingberg just stand still. The Breadman, Brett said before the show, like, he's the guy who's going to walk the blue line anyway because he's the defenseman on the play. You don't really need him bursting.
He's not getting into the rush and like going to the net.
Yeah, so tough one. But overall, this wasn't the reason the Oilers lost the game.
No, it wasn't. There were bigger picture issues with that hockey game. Oilers fall 4-3 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. All in all, again, I know this game technically happened in February, but when you consider what we've seen from the Oilers since the calendar flipped to 2025, similar to the loss to Detroit, I'm not going to sit here and roast this team all that hard. They've been playing great hockey since the end of November. They had a really good month of January, so it is what it is. You're not going to win every game. You're not going to play great every game. I think the flu bug going through this team is probably hurting them a little bit. Connor McDavid held off the score sheet against Toronto, didn't partake in the skills competition yesterday either. It happens. Sometimes this stuff happens. It's whatever. Oilers now tied for the top spot in the Pacific, but they do have a game in hand on Vegas. Golden Knights have won 2 of their last 10. If you're worried about the state of the Oilers, imagine being a Golden Knights fan right now.
And they lost to the Rangers yesterday.
They did.
4-2.
Yeah.
Jonathan Quick, 400th win.
Correct.
In his career. Crazy.
This
is a big week coming up for the Oilers. Like they've obviously tied it up with Vegas now at the top, but like Vegas is slumping. The Oilers have 3 games going into the break. You want to try and get a gap on Vegas here as you can.
All right, let's get out to the guest line today. Every Monday on this show, we are joined by Sportsnet analyst Louie DeBrusk, who is thankfully at an airport. Louie, it is good to see you at the airport. I know you're not exactly going to a warm destination for this road trip, but surely anything's better than leaving minus 32.
It's warmer than here, that's for sure. No question about that. But it's supposed to be a little bit warmer in St. Louis, a little colder in Chicago. The last couple times we've been there, it's been pretty chilly in Chicago. But no, it's definitely warmer than minus 32, and looking forward to a little bit warmer environment for sure.
So I was going back through, and I'm interested if you guys got or if you saw any sort of an explanation for this. The review after a timeout. I was always under the impression that once a new event starts, you aren't allowed to challenge a goal. When you look at the way the NHL listed it, it's definitely listed as the timeout was called and then they challenged, like we all saw it. Yeah. I'm surprised they were allowed to do that.
I've seen it before. Okay. I've seen it before where it's happened. Doesn't happen that often, obviously, in the time of the game. I don't know if necessarily the timeout was to look at the replay longer, to be honest with you. From that point in time, with how much time they had in the zone, I just think they would have known that it was offside. It was an instant challenge. Like it was, they knew. You could almost tell by the confidence on the bench, they knew that it was offside. I don't know if you kind of picked that up, but I was watching at home and I was looking at it going, you know, Craig Berube's already gotten the information that they feel this is an offside play anyway. So I don't know why he would have called the timeout, to be honest, because he was getting one just challenging the call. So it looked to me like they already knew. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they wanted to look at it a little longer. Obviously, that's a pretty key situation. If he challenges that and it's not offside and you're giving the team a power play that just stormed back and tied the game, you know what's going to happen. They're going to find a way to score in the power play. So maybe he just wanted to settle things down. You know what? I'm not sure. But I understand what you're saying, but they let it happen, and it does happen. Doesn't happen too often because it essentially is a timeout in itself. So you're kind of killing both of them.
Pretty obvious one either way. Yeah. I mean, whatever it was,
right?
100%.
Like, there's no question it was offside. Like, I mean, there's just no, and it really sucked because it was exciting, excuse me, just to see how they stormed back in that game. They didn't have a great start, but that's been happening lately to this team, and they have a team that Sorry about some of the announcements you're going to hear in here, but they have the ability to storm back. Like, there was no question who the better team was after the first period. It was pretty obvious that Edmonton put the pedal to the metal. They were pushing, they were challenging, they were looking for chances, and they got up against a hot goaltender again, and he played really well, and you have to tip your cap to him. But the thing is, they have to stop getting behind the eight ball. And it's been happening a little bit too often. And for me, there was some mistakes that I think could easily be cleaned up. And I think they'll try and work on those and clean those up. And it starts around their net. It's, we talked about it years ago about having people back in the right places, but they're not doing anything. People around the net protecting, but they're not really taking somebody that's dangerous. And they just need to get back to that. When they do it, obviously we've seen what they've done in the last few months. They've really turned it around. They're a great defensive team when they all buy in and work that way. Sometimes you get lost in the shuffle, you get puck watching, you get skill watching, and it's in the back of the net before you know it. They're losing the battles in front of both nets again, though, and that's the key situation for me is you have to win more in front of your net to protect, and you have to win more in the opposition's end to put pucks in the net. And there was a lot of pucks I felt early on around the front of the net. It's been the last few games I've noticed that where you got to come up with those pucks more often than not.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I guess along the lines of that conversation, the Leafs jump out to a 3-0 lead. You talked about the slow starts, but Stuart Skinner obviously drew a lot of criticism. I didn't love the first goal against. There was a decent amount of traffic. And then the two on the power play, I think maybe there is like there's two arguments to it. I think you can look and go, they each hit Skinner in the chest. He spit him out into the slot. Is that on Skinner or is that on the guys around him? As you said, Oilers not tough enough in front of their own net. Like, how much blame, I guess, do you put on Skinner for that 3-0 deficit?
Well, it's always hard, right? Because you look at the Nylander goal and the way he shot that around the screen at the perfect time. I think Kevin Bjorkstrand did a great breakdown of it on Hockey Night in Canada. And he explained that, from a goaltender's perspective, when Nylander saw him look this way, he went this way with the puck. He went the opposite. And that's, Kevin being a defenseman, that's kind of what you're looking to do when you're back there sifting that puck through. It's not just about getting it by the guy. If you can see where the goaltender's looking around a guy standing in front of the net, then all of a sudden you just need to get it there. If you put it in the right place, it's going to find its way in the back of the net. It's not a real hard shot, right? When you look at it, there certainly was flyby screens. There was a stationary screen. But if you watch Skinner and he broke it down, he's looking to the left, Nylander shoots right, it's perfectly placed. And you could tell by the reaction, oh, geez, it's over here, over my shoulder. I don't blame him on that one. You know what? I think somebody should be in front of that shot. I think somebody needs to get in front of it. I think that most shots that get through from the blue line, I feel, somebody could have gotten that lane. Somebody could have made a better effort to get in front of that lane and make it a difficult shot. Look how many shots Evan Bouchard has blocked. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's not a good shooter. It's just that they have a commitment because they know he has a good shot to get in the lane. And yeah, he hits a shin pad from time to time or an elbow that he's trying to be so precise with that shot. But he is accurate with that shot. So, he takes a ton of shots and he's going to have a lot blocked. Simple as that. But I think he could probably get more through. I think everybody could get more through. The opposite effect is the more shots you're getting down into the danger zone with traffic in front, the more dangerous it's going to be. And the more you're getting a piece of as a forward and as a defenseman, the less opportunities you're giving the opposition. I'm a big shot blocker guy, and I'm not talking diving in front of shots and two-pad stacking. I'm saying just deterring the shot by being in the lane and making sure that you're in the lane and not kind of just tiptoeing around it. We used to call it the flamingo, but, having your stick in the lane, hoping you're going to maybe get a piece of it. Get your body in front of the lane. But I know what you're saying. I think that Stuart Skinner's going to tell you should have had all of them. He always feels like he should make every save, and I think that's a great attribute of a goaltender to feel that way. But the ones around the net, I thought, found a way to get across the line. Nyes wins a battle in front. I think it was Darnell Nurse coming down on the stick instead of just getting in there and lifting a stick in the air. I haven't seen too many guys score a goal with a stick in the air. But those are little things that they'll look at. And like I said, they've been pretty darn good in that category all year. I would say in the last 10 games, though, they've started to let that trickle in there. Maybe that's fatigue a bit. Maybe that's the break coming up. Maybe it's, just a little lapse in mentality and exertion around your nets. But I think if they start concentrating in the key areas a little bit more, we know how they can play and they can win hockey games. So I think it was a team loss. I'm not going to put it on Stuart Skinner. Would you like to have a couple of those? Absolutely.
Only a couple of games in, obviously, but what have you made of John Klingberg, I guess, in comparison to what you thought he was going to bring to what he's actually brought these first two? Elevated minutes, too, because of Ekholm.
Yes. You know what? And that's how much did they miss Matthias? I mean, he just goes to show you how important he is to the team. And when anyone, when Darnell was out, you noticed how important he was to the team. Those are their two big guys back there that eat a lot of minutes in the hard minutes, and they play a sound defensive game. But everybody stepped up. I think for Klingberg, though, to answer your question, Liam, I think, the first shift he had, he jumped on the ice, he started the game, he made a perfect outlet pass right onto the tape, and then he made a subtle little sauce pass over a stick from the corner. And it was, and I wanted to talk about it because I'm like, that's a subtle little play in his first game, over a year that he just, threads onto the tape through a stick, over a stick. And those are skilled little plays from a defenseman to make out of the zone. I've seen some really likable things in his game early on, and the reason why they signed him and wanted him to come on board. He can move the puck. He's a extremely good passer, and that's something they wanted more. They wanted the puck in the forward's hands more often. I've also seen some lapses and some mistakes, and I would say the mistakes are probably out of rust than out of just thinking, but he had a little bit of a heel pick or whatever you want, and was able to recover a little bit on Nylander, who kind of undressed him a little bit. The timing issue, sometimes when you see him come, he's just a little bit late getting there. But overall, I have to say, I'm impressed with it. And you have to take the good and bad with Klingberg similarly to when we talk about Bouchard, to be honest. He's an offensive puck-moving defenseman that gets the puck up the ice, can make it play under pressure. I've loved his poise on the line with the puck. I know I heard you talking about that earlier. He's really confident back there with the puck on his stick, and Edmonton needs a little more of that. Truthfully, their defense has done a great job, but that's the one area for me they need to be a little more dangerous with the puck on their stick in the offensive zone, where they have that swagger and poise to say, if you're going to pressure me aggressively, I'm going to make a play that's going to hurt you. And he has the ability to do that. And I saw a couple situations where he made a couple passes I think guys weren't expecting already in the couple of games that he's played. And I think once they realize that puck's coming, that they'll be more ready for it, and that's going to be a difference there. But he's got to get his feet wet. He's got to get the reps. I mean, you don't just miss that much time and jump in as a defenseman especially. But I think overall, I think he's done fine. And I think we've seen the things we need to see from him. It's just a matter of progressing on that.
Yeah, you talked about needing to be maybe a little bit more dangerous in the offensive zone. I really felt that way after the Detroit game. Again, people, not us, but people were getting on Stuart Skinner after that game. And I was like, whoa. The Oilers had how many shots on goal in that game, and they couldn't solve Alex Lyon, who is a fine goalie, but they weren't playing Jake Ottinger or Igor Shesterkin. Like, I do think there's a little bit, as great as Joe Woll played on Saturday night. You put up 48 shots. I would like a team as dangerous as Edmonton to find a way to convert on more than 3 of them. And Liam, that kind of almost brings me, I'll tee you up to tee up Louie now, a little secondary assist from me. But like, you wanted to ask about maybe acquiring a scoring winger.
Yeah, it seems like the Oilers have a lot of the same scoring type wingers outside of the top guys, obviously. Do you think that needs to be something they address at the deadline?
I do. We've talked about this at length this season, guys, and my my opinions have changed a little bit, and I'm with you. Excuse me, guys. I'm with you. I think that certainly they could look to add a scoring winger. They don't need a playmaking winger. Mm-hmm. They need someone that shoots the puck. They need someone that has a finish. They need someone that's willing to shoot the puck and shoot it often. Too many times, there's times to shoot the puck and it doesn't get to the net, in my opinion, in good positions. And I think when you have someone that's thinking shot before the puck comes to them, passers love that. Passers love the fact that when I give you the puck, you're going to shoot it. That's what they want you to do. And I just don't think that's happened enough. And, we've talked about this. Jack and I talk about this. This is kind of what we do when we go down the rabbit hole. The media, Bob Stauffer, Cam Moon, Gene, when we're all sitting around and we're having a little hot stove about things. These are the kind of conversations we have. And you look at it and you say, okay, Leon Draisaitl's never had a 30-goal winger in his career. Just wrap your mind around that for a second. Like, he's one of the best passers in the history of the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I know he's played with Connor. I know he's played with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins when Nuge had the 100-point season, a lot of power play up and down, but he played more up than he did down with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's a travesty to me. I'm sorry, it is. That's a travesty to me that he doesn't have a running mate, a winger, aside from McDavid when he runs with him, that can put the puck in the net on a regular basis. And they've tried. They've changed it over. They've tried different people. They put different situations in place where different guys get a look. And nobody's grabbed those reins. Nobody's grabbed those reins and taken off with it. And, Connor McDavid has Zach Hyman when he's rolling. He's a 50-goal scorer. Patrick Maroon was the guy before that. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins obviously scored over 30. He scored 36 or 37 the one year. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 36. But, to have a continual winger that's played with him on a consistent basis, and I'd say over 60% of the season, Tyler Yamamoto had 20 goals. That was the one guy that got 20 goals playing with Leon Draisaitl. That has to change, guys. They have to find someone that can put the puck in the net on that line. Or else what they're going to have to do is continually load up Connor and Leon because they're the only ones getting it done. And they've had to rely on that again. So there was some promising play from players early in the year. It's dropped off a little bit. There's been some shuffling, but I think it's time for someone to kind of jump in there. And you're seeing Corey Perry kind of have a little more of an emergence too and get some of that time. Why? Why is Corey Perry getting that time? Because he puts the puck in the net, because he shoots the puck, and he gets to the spot. Case in point, the goalie scored the other night. Like, you got to have a guy that's thinking shot, and they're not easy to find, I'll tell you that, but there's some guys out there. But I agree with you. I think that's something they should certainly look for and hopefully find a diamond in the rough that comes in and finds a scoring way.
Everything you just said, and I try to not ask about Jeff Skinner every week because I feel like we talk about Jeff Skinner every week with you, but did you not just make the case for Jeff Skinner to get 5 games with Leon Draisaitl? Like, you want to talk about a guy who can score 30 goals. Defensively, their deficiencies. I know Leon always works really well when he has a good puck retriever. That's why someone like Yamamoto worked with him, but he's maybe not perfect on paper. But to put that kind of a shot and that shot-first mentality next to Leon Draisaitl, there's a part of me that wants to see them get 4 or 5 games and go, see if you can figure out the chemistry thing.
They've tried it. He's making a case for himself. He's come in and he has scored a couple goals. Like, when you look down the list, I mean, Perry and Skinner have more goals than other guys that have had way more of an opportunity than they have. Let's put it that way. No question about it, right? They're veteran players. I know they're getting a little long in the tooth. They're a little older, but they still know how to score goals. They need somebody else to step up and find a way to be hot for a change. Someone to step up and say, hey, I'm on a roll and I'm playing well. But if from the Jeff Skinner perspective, they've tried it. They have tried it early in the year. They've tried different situations, putting Skinner in the mix. The thing is, for when you're playing with Leon, I think you need to have the speed. You have to have someone that's going to get in there and attack and get the puck back, get it to Leon, get to the spot, and then get the shot. It's a little bit of a different dimension. That's where Kyler was when he had success with Leon. He was quick. He was to a puck. He win a battle. He'd get it in the right hands. He'd get somewhere. And listen, we all know he fanned on a lot of shots. I mean, he could probably had 40, 45, 50 goals if he would have scored on his opportunities. But you have to have someone that's creating those opportunities. I always say if those opportunities aren't happening, then you're not doing your job. But if they are happening, maybe the touch, maybe the finish comes someone like Zach Hyman, who every year got a little bit better at finishing, and next thing you know, he's a 54 goal scorer, and scored 16 in the playoffs. So it's not easy. I know this is one of the hardest things to find in the National Hockey League, but it's the reason why players like Jake Getzel are coveted. Guys that can go and put a puck in the net and jump into a top line and play. It's like, hey, we need a guy like that. We need someone that can put the damn puck in the net. And you know what? I'd be okay with them giving him a chance up there. But again, it's the dimension of the line. I think sometimes for Skinner, he wants to try and do too much with it at times with the puck, and sometimes it rolls off of the stick and he loses it. When you're playing with Leon and Connor, you're kind of a distributor. You want to hold on to a puck, you want to give it to them, you want to get to a spot you need to get to. But if the puck is turning over on your stick and the play is dying on your stick, you're not going to be on that line for very long. You're just not going to be. Sorry. You cannot have the puck dying on your stick. So I would be totally willing to give it a try, though. I think he'd be motivated. I think he's found a little confidence. So I agree, Ty, with you saying, you know what, you got to try something, because you can't constantly have wingers that aren't putting the puck in the net if you're going to play them with the likes of Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. I'm sorry. You just can't. You have to produce when you're playing on those lines. Simple as that. And I know it's tough. Trust me, I was a tough guy. I could always go out there and find a fight. That was the one thing I always said. If I wanted to go out there and find a fight, if I pushed hard enough, I could always go out there and find someone to at least engage with me. And everybody would know I'm doing my job. To be an elite scorer in the league is really, really difficult, because everybody's watching. Everybody knows when you're not doing your job. And when it's not going your way, your confidence shrinks. It just absolutely evaporates. And it's really difficult to maintain that. So catch him at the right time. I think Jeff Skinner could go in there and score some goals, certainly on that line. And they need it. They need to find a little punch there, a little offense.
Louie, as always, man, appreciate your time. What's a plane ride look like these days for Louie DeBrusk? What are you doing to kill the time?
I put my iPad on and I do a little work usually. I do a little work for the first like 30, 40 minutes, just kind of get the book kind of going for the game. And then I'm into shows. I just eat content on the planes. That's where I watch. I don't like to watch shows at home. My wife and I will watch ones that we like, but I'll download seasons and then just start going through it methodically. That's how I like to do it. But,
You a Severance guy on Apple? Are you watching Severance?
That's the one I just downloaded. My daughter
man.
Jordan told me I gotta watch Severance, and it's on my iPad right now in my bag. So that's what I'm going to be watching today. So obviously that's a good plug because you like it too.
Oh,
Well, next Monday we'll be asking you for your review.
Okay, perfect. Looking forward to it.
okay. Thanks, Louie.
All right. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
There you go. Louie DeBrusk on the guest line. Always appreciate Louie's time on a Monday as he heads out. Quick 2-game road trip for the Oil. Little trip through the Midwest. Probably beautiful this time of year.
No place I'd rather be.
All right, let's continue along with the show, Liam. Let's get to some trade talk for our friends over at the Edmonton Police Service who want to remind you to curb the danger. Report an impaired driver by calling 911. If you suspect someone on the road is impaired by drugs or alcohol, do not hesitate. Call 911 immediately. For more information on curb the danger, visit edmontonpolice.ca/impaired driving. What a weekend of trades it was, Liam.
Everywhere.
But we're starting with the hockey stuff. We'll do hockey, then we'll move on in a second.
Okay.
But we get the JT Miller trade, excuse me. It was not surprising at all.
Miller.
The Rangers were kind of the one rumored spot for him for a while now. At this point, they finally find a way to get it done. The Canucks get Philip Hedl, who I like but don't love. I think the concussion history there, you got to be careful with that guy. Victor Mancini, I think, is a fine-ish prospect. They get a first in 2025. They have to throw in Brandstrom and another contract too, whatever. For the Canucks, I think one of the wins is that this is over. A little bit of the old addition by subtraction. And the other thing, it gives the Canucks opportunity because now next summer, they're projected to have $26 million in cap space. You got out of JT Miller's money without, I know there was talk like, the Rangers want them to keep. If they would have kept, that would have been a massive mistake. But you got out of the contract. You're able to start this new era now. Okay, what can you do with that money? We'll find out in the summer. There's ways that this can become a win down the line. In the moment, you didn't get enough for a 100-point guy, not even close.
But do you have any faith that this Vancouver Canucks management can actually do anything with that money?
No, because
I think just going to sign the tallest blue line in the league. That's all they do is just, how big is he? 6'5"? Perfect. He'll be great on our blue line so we can lose to Connor McDavid in the playoffs again because we're all too slow to defend him.
This Canucks front office does one thing, and it's what Jim Rutherford's always done. He shoots from the hip. He pulls the trigger, then thinks second, right? And to me, that's kind of what's gotten them into a lot of the problems. It's like, okay, do you really want to give Danton Heinen 2 years by $2.4 million? Do you really want to give Vincent Desharnais 2x2 when you already have Soucy and Myers and Forbert? No, because they just sit there and go, I like that player. What does he want? Sure, pay him that. Okay, we'll figure out the rest later. And it catches up to them. So bad trade for the Canucks for now.
But not their worst one on the day.
I think I'm going to disagree with you on that, but it didn't take them long to flip the first-round pick. No. They take the Rangers pick, send it to Pittsburgh. Here's where I like this deal.
Okay.
Despite the fact it's their own bullet wound they were putting a bandage on, you got out of Heinen and Desharnais, who were $4.45 million on next year's cap.
Yeah, that is a good side.
That's a good thing. Marcus Pettersson was the best defenseman on the market. I think he's a 5 on a cup contender. Drew O'Connor's a 4th liner on a cup contender. So you gave up a first to get a number 5 D-man. Granted, a very, very good number 5 D-man. He can be a 4. He can if you need him to be.
Okay.
He doesn't put up a lot of offense. His first pass is meh, but he can eat minutes like he did in his debut. He can kill penalties, and he'll take care of the defensive side of the puck. I think value-wise, this trade was totally fine because for Vancouver, you unlocked some more money and got out of 2 players who weren't working there. Yes, you had to give up a first-round pick, but a first-round pick to get out of $4.45 million for next season, and you get the premier rental on the market, that's fine value for me. My issue with this is that Marcus Pettersson is not the type of defenseman they need.
I don't get it at all. They just seem to want to put the JT Miller news out of the headlines, which was never going to happen because the best thing about this trade was that they have 3 Petterssons on their team now, and all their nicknames are Petey. It's a confusing locker room if it wasn't already. I just don't get it. I don't know why they did this. Marcus Pettersson, everything you just described So what did you say about him? Good defensive guy. Not a great first pass, but decent enough, and he's going to soak up minutes when you need him to. Yeah. Is he not just Brett Kulak, but slightly better? And now you have to essentially re-sign him in the summer because you force yourself into this spot. Marcus Pettersson was a bad contract for many years because he wasn't good enough for what he is. And now they're just going to do it again. And it's awesome. I say they go and get another guy like that. Trade all your picks. Blow it up again. I don't know. Like, what are they doing? Recognize who you are. Like, you have such a bad culture because you just decide that Brock Besser isn't good enough for you. He's been there forever. And he's like, is he good enough? We still have to evaluate. Like, they still might trade Elias Pettersson.
They might. Frank says they might.
Which then, if that happens, this trade makes no sense. Just wait. Just wait. Like, I understand they want to like try and fix things, and they have to push for a playoff spot. Obviously,
that's why they did it.
Totally. And I understand that, but like, I don't know. Defensive market kind of sucks this year, and the fact that Pettersson's number one guy on the board, I'm actually quite happy he's gone because that means the Oilers won't get him.
I wouldn't have hated it.
I just don't think it's what they need. The Oilers play with so much speed and need guys to get the puck to their forwards. And Pettersson, everything that is described around him is just not a fit here. So I'm glad he went there.
Yeah, and I mean, someone said Jay Fresh called him a puck mover or a top pair defenseman that's a solid puck mover. I don't see that in his game. I don't think he's a very efficient puck mover. I think he's passable, but he's not elite at all. Yeah. Nowhere close to that. So the other trade that went down Saturday, Cody Ceci is on the move once again. He is going to the Dallas Stars along with Mikael Granlund. Don't call me Marcus Granlund. That would be the former Oiler. First-round pick and a conditional third. It's a third if the Stars make the Cup final. It's a fourth if they don't. So basically, the way this deal boils down to is a first for Granlund and a third or fourth for Cody Ceci.
Yes.
I think Dallas overpaid on both of these fronts, and let me explain. San Jose had no more retained money spots. The only contenders who could afford to take on a Granlund or a Ceci are contenders who had a boatload of LTIR space. Who are the contenders with a boatload of LTIR space?
Dallas and Colorado.
Basically just Dallas.
Yeah, Colorado.
Dallas, it feels like Dallas was negotiating with themselves a little bit here on this deal, and I think they overpaid on both fronts. I don't think Cody Ceci at his full cap is worth that. Cody Ceci at 50% is worth that. I don't think Michael Granlund at his full cap is worth that. Michael Granlund, if you kept 50%, I could see the justification for that. Granlund is good. Ceci will play on a third pair role and have to eat minutes on the PK. They both fill a role and scratch an itch that needed to be itched for the Dallas Stars, but they overpaid for him. Especially, again, you're jumping the market here. I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah. Cody Ceci, I think, has a bad reputation for his time in Edmonton. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. They made the right decision in moving on from him. They needed to freshen up on their blue line. And Ty Emberson, I would take over him any day of the week, but he's a solid penalty killer and a guy who can soak up some minutes if you really need him to. But I will read you all, fellow listeners, the Dallas Stars right side. On the first pair, obviously Miro Heiskanen is out, and I know he's a right,
but he could be out for a while.
But yeah, Ilya Lyubushkin, Cody Ceci, Matt Dumba. That is a tough way to go.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Like, I know this, like, Jim Nill is known to like make these trades of like where he doesn't give up a lot of assets. So last year, of course, they got Chris Tanner for a second, and somehow they're in this spot, and that's what they sacrifice. It felt unnecessary. Dallas is a really good team right now. What are they? 4-game win streak, something like that, or fourth in the league, something crazy. Elite team. Don't get me wrong, but like when push comes to shove, we saw what happened in the playoffs last year when the Oilers were able to outduel them because their third pair was Ryan Suter and Alex Petrovic. That didn't help them, and I don't think that blue line's much better.
We got a comment in the YouTube chat. YouTube chat brought to you by our friends at Odd Company Brewing and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager, a crisp, clean lager crafted not just for game day, but for every day. Pick one up at a liquor store near you by going to Liquor Connect, typing it in, or one of 2 Odd Company locations in the city, downtown, or the Ritchie area on Happy Beer Street. We got a comment here. Kreutzer, I don't watch Granlund enough. He puts up points, though, close to a point-per-game guy the last 2 seasons. He puts up points when he's on bad teams because he plays power play, plays top-line minutes, and does all that. He goes to a contender, he slides down, he becomes less effective. I'm not sure if he's a great playoff guy.
He has played 59 playoff games, has 11 goals, 32 points. The furthest he's gone was his second and third year in the NHL. I'm assuming that's the second round, 13 games, 10 games.
Yeah.
Other than that, he's kind of been just a first round exit guy. Like, I think he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's probably a guy you want as like your fourth or fifth best scorer. Maybe fifth is too harsh. Fourth guy.
Yeah.
Someone you can throw on the power play if someone gets injured, kind of thing, you know? I think he's a fun player, and if the Oilers acquired him, I wouldn't have been disappointed by any means, but
they would have needed him for a fourth-line center role, and why would you pay that much for a guy who's going to be in a fourth-line center role?
Totally, but I mean in the sense of like if they needed a secondary scorer, he would have been a good option for them. But we'll continue with the rumors, and then I want to ask you something else.
Well, I'll get to a couple of comments here. D. White says, I would have taken Ceci for a third. That would have been a very dumb thing to do. We know what Cody Ceci is here. He's not your solution in the top four. Ty Emberson is miles better of a player than Cody 100%. Ceci is. 7 said, lost on Pettersson. Matheson will work. You guys know that Matheson is my guy, but there are maybe a couple more trade targets popping out that I am very, very intrigued with. But first, what did you want to ask me?
I wanted to ask you about a trade partner.
Oh, really?
And I think we're dancing with the same partner, buddy.
All right, well, then let's get into it. For our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, it's our giant question of the day. You can get an exclusive package, swag package, with every Nation Valet service booked online, and you automatically get entered to win a monthly prize as well. And I'm just saying, here's what you do. Okay, you go to Sherwood Ford, or you book online at sherwoodford.ca, and in the comments, you just put, I want Nation Valet. So if you're getting an oil change or whatever, any routine maintenance on your vehicle, put in that you want Nation Valet. They'll come pick up your vehicle, drive it to the dealership. You all know how it works. You're also going to get a swag package. We got Oilers Nation air fresheners.
Damn.
That's cool as hell.
That is cool.
And there's a little rumor that maybe the monthly prize is a spot on a certain vacation.
Whoa.
So they're going to come pick up your vehicle, do the work. Like, you get this service for free, and you get a swag package, and you get entered into the big monthly draw. Unbelievable stuff. Shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Here's your question. Is there anyone on Frank's latest trade targets board who stands out to you? Frank Saravalli dropping his updated list. We're a month and 4 days away from the trade deadline. It's basically, it'll be 4 weeks on Friday. So 4.5 weeks away. Frank has some new names. In the top 5, there's Casey Middlestad. I think we can both agree that's not really a fit for the Oilers.
No, but it's funny how him and Byram are both on this list.
Pretty funny, yes. Seth Jones, 5 more years, $9.5 million.
No, thank you.
No.
Purely salary. I think on a good team, he could be much better.
I actually think some team's going to take a chance on him and be very happy with what they get, because you're going to get him for a prayer.
Is he a left or a right shot?
Righty.
If Dallas had just waited the weekend,
well, that's what I mean.
They would have seen him on Frank's list.
Seattle has 2 new names on the list. Oliver Bjorkstrand, who I think is too pedestrian for my liking. He scores, but that's about all he does. I don't like him.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but $5.4 million for 1 more year, I have no interest in him.
Okay, I have a plan.
Okay. Jamie Alexiak might become one of my guys. And I want to dig into it a little bit more, because he's having a down year, and I want to know why he's having a down year. Like, is it because he is playing bad, or is it because the Kraken are having another poor season? But when you go look, and I got a piece up coming to the site, OilersNation.com, about this. His expected goals for percentage. And again, he plays a primarily defensive first role, plays against tough competition, all that stuff. He's at 43% this year. That's terrible. 49% last year, that's okay. Before that, it was a 7-year run where he was 50% or better. If you look at a guy and you think he has more to give if he gets put into a proper spot on a better team, he's got 1 more year at $4.6 million. He has a history of being a good shutdown defenseman. If you're confident in Kulak playing with Nurse on the right side, Alexiak Emberson sounds really nice. Yeah. And Seattle doesn't have a single retained contract on the books, so the idea that you could convince them into keeping 50% or close to it, very tempting.
Yeah, I think it is we are dancing with the same partner, by the way. Yeah.
But you like Bjorkstrand?
I do.
Ugh.
I'll explain.
Ugh.
Klingberg is really throwing a wrench in all of this. I do wonder. I don't know if he's a top 4 guy, but I almost think he's better than what a 7th would be, but I guess that's what depth kind of is in the playoffs when you need it. So I do like the idea of Alexiak. I think he brings something a little bit different to the team. And look, you look at a situation last game where Ekholm is out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. I know Kulak, and we all love him, does a really good job, but I feel like if your left side is then those 3 guys, Nurse, Alexiak, Kulak, like you can survive. I don't know if you could survive in the playoffs if you lost anyone on that left side the way it is right now and you were plugging in Troy Stetch.
Correct.
So Alexiak for me is a good fit. But the reason I like Bjorkstrand is, one, I think he's obviously a very productive player on a Seattle team that is just like not productive at all. In scoring, everyone just scores 15 goals, and it's kind of the standard across the board. But he's always the one that kind of elevates above the rest. And we just talked about with Louie, like you kind of need a guy who just has the instincts to go score goals. And when you look at where all his goals are this season, they're all in the slot and all in the crease. He doesn't create a ton on his own, but that's fine. You don't need him to create on his own. You need him to go and play on Draisaitl's right wing. When you trade Victor Arvidsson to there as well and give him whatever they want for it. And I think that's the way you can kind of get around it, is like you get Bjorkstrand because he's 5.4.
I'm not touching that.
I think it could be a
He's
really
Jeff
good ad.
Skinner.
But he's bigger and plays slightly better.
He doesn't play better, and he's not bigger.
I'm in on Bjorkstrand. I think that's a really good ad for the team.
I think he would fall out of favor here very, very fast. He's 6 feet. He's not
Massive.
big.
That's a big man.
I don't know. You're paying $5 million for a guy who maxes
Well,
as
who would you be scoring right winger for you then? Left wing.
Well,
actually, I think the right wing is actually more desperate than.
Yeah, like again, the idea of acquiring Bjorkstrand when you have Jeff Skinner on the roster and having those two signed for $9 million
Okay, but we can talk about Jeff Skinner till we're blue in the face, but they just don't want to play him there.
And I'm telling you, if they don't want to play Jeff Skinner there, there's no reason why they would want to play Oliver Bjorkstrand there. They're too close to the same player.
I don't know. I think they're a little bit different. I think it could be something they look at. Like they've done an in-division trade before too, obviously last season with Henrik and Sam Carrick, so I don't think it's too crazy, but I don't hate the idea. If you can move on from Arvidsson too, then that kind of helps you out as well for next season.
If you want to get a guy with 20-goal upside and you're looking to just take a shot, again, you're not probably... Bjorkstrand's expensive. If you get Seattle to keep money, I guess, but then you're paying more for him, just go trade a third-round pick for Goose Nyquist at 50% retained.
Yeah, that's also not a bad idea.
Right, like if you're looking to get a different mix in there, I think Nyquist, and I believe Nyquist can kill as well. I go get Gustav Nyquist, who comes in at Frank's list on number 13. Bjorkstrand does not kill penalties, so
I don't need him to kill penalties.
I know you don't need him to, but again, like the only way I even remotely contemplate that is if Seattle's keeping $2 million and they're taking Jeff Skinner back, and you're doing this as like a fresh start for Skinner. He agrees to go, and you throw in a pick and get Bjorkstrand. But I don't see that as a fit at all. I don't even hate the player. I just hate the fit in Edmonton. I don't think it works.
So if you were just based off trades last season, if you're just getting Bjorkstrand the most, and you're getting 50% retained, there was guys traded last year for a second round pick and like a fourth or fifth. Mantha was one of them. Tarasenko obviously a little bit different. Tyler Toffoli was another guy.
Also,
but it's not that expensive.
If you're giving me a choice, if you're saying it's a second round pick on the board and you can get one of Alexiak or Bjorkstrand for 50% retained.
Oh, then I'm picking Alexiak.
Picking Alexiak all day, and they can't afford both.
Unless they retained on both. Last season, that Henrik deal was twice retained on both.
Didn't have term. Didn't have term. That
is fair. I think it's interesting. I wonder about him.
There's really, again, not anyone else. I think Dumoulin, if they decide to just truly punt and just go Dumoulin, who's down lower in the list, I think he's 22. If you do that for 50% retained and like a fourth, and that's like your Troy Stetcher-esque move, sure, because you want a bit of extra depth. I'd go after Nick Robertson before I went after Bjorkstrand, I think, just because he's cheaper and you wouldn't have the cap problem that comes with Bjorkstrand.
Yeah, I liked him on
8 goals
Saturday
in 44
too.
games. He moves well. I can't understand why Toronto doesn't like him, yeah.
I think the money eventually is going to be what they're worried about, isn't it? Just like what the negotiation is going to be.
Keefe didn't like him. And I don't know if Berube does, but anyways, interesting.
Dylan put another day of Oilers Nation not talking about getting a goalie. Well, if you look at Frank's list, there's no goalies on the list. And I think that's a big reason why we don't talk about it that often is, could the Oilers go out and get another goaltender to fit with Skinner?
The only goalie,
answer is yes, they actually could go and do it. And it is not a bad idea to go and do that.
No.
But the problem is, no one's available.
Dan Vladar is the only goalie on Frank's list.
Yeah, and look, if Vermelka was on there, like someone put Vermelka, Gibson, Demko.
There's zero inkling
no
that
way.
Utah wants to move on from Vermelka.
And Demko's not leaving Vancouver. I'd be very surprised. And
if you can get Vermelka at 50% retained for a fourth-round pick, which is similar to what the Jake Allen deal was, except Allen had term and was 50% retained, so a fourth for Vermelka, 50% retained, all day, every day.
Yeah, and I just don't see it as a possibility.
I don't think Utah's going to do that. I don't think they're going to punt.
Was Vladar the only goaltender on the list, or did Gibson make it too?
No, Gibson's not on the list. I don't think
they want to move on from him.
No.
And also, too, like, I don't know if the Oilers want to take on 3 years of Gibson.
They shouldn't want to, because he won't age well.
At the start of the season, we spoke about Gibson, and coming into the year, he had very similar numbers to what Calvin Pickard was last season. And we said, Gibson is just Pickard. I think it's fair to say Gibson has got way better this year. Way better than we expected to. But what's to say, and this is a big what if, he doesn't do that next season. Then you also just in the Anaheim spot of like, you have a guy who isn't playing up to his contract, and the Oilers just don't need to be in that situation. They don't need to be there. But again, like, if the Oilers can go out and they can find someone to play alongside Skinner, and you can go a 1-2 punch of whoever 1A, 1B, what it may be, then yeah, absolutely, they should go and do that. But a reason we don't talk about it that often is because it's just not a conversation. It's easily like 5th on their priority list right now. If it grows up and it comes out, we'll talk about it more, but it's just not there.
I agree with you. Okay, we got a couple more things to get to here. I know we're running out of time on the show. Lineup report from tonight at Skate from our friends at Booster Juice, our proud puck partner down at the Jasper Pond Hockey Tournament the other weekend. They were great to have on board. Delicious smoothies, snacks, and food that will help get you through the day. Also, download the new Booster Rewards app to start earning berry points and find a location near you. The Oilers debuted or went with, do we have the lineup? Show me. Here's the lineup. Keeping McDavid, Draisaitl, and Perry together. Again, they switched that around. Like, they had Hyman go up there for a few shifts. Like, they very much have a fluid lineup situation, I would say, is the best way to describe this forward group right now. I thought Jeff Skinner was fine, though, again against Toronto.
I thought he played a good game. He's noticeable now. I feel like it was such a long run of him not being very noticeable. And I think he's a better fit on the third line. I think he just needs to be kind of the driver of it in a way, and I think him and Henrique are actually a pretty decent duo.
Skinner, 11-43 at 5-on-5. Shot attempts were 14-7 for the Oilers when he was on the ice. I take that. In terms of shot attempt percentage, he had a good game. He was right around where Nugent and Draisaitl were, so I liked Skinner's game. I'm happy he's staying up in the third line. No Noah Philp once again, but that's not overly surprising. Skinner potentially going to be in line to get the start this week, but it's back-to-back games, so we're going to see each guy once.
Yeah. What is it? St. Louis, Chicago, then Colorado on the weekend. Yeah. Also, too, just on these lines, I think it's about time Podkolzin was probably demoted.
Probably.
He does a lot of good things, don't get me wrong, but at some point you got to start scoring goals. And he just doesn't do it consistently enough. And yeah, good idea to move him down. Obviously, deep pairings are pretty much the same. Klingberg being out, interesting. I don't know. I thought they were just
sick.
He is sick? Okay, yeah, he missed a skate yesterday. I had the skills come yesterday. I saw they were going to ride him out. Maybe he'll just skate. I don't know. Play.
We'll see. Tomorrow, Shirt for Giant Game Day edition of the show. We'll have more on that. Before we go, need to tell everyone that the Service Big Share contest is back and in full swing. It's your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Anyone can enter by becoming a member and saving with Service. Every $500 saved gives you 5 entries into the Service Big Share contest. The contest ends April 30th, 2025. Skill test required. For rules, visit service.ca/win. Liam, let's quickly do a little what's trending. What was your reaction when you saw the Luka Doncic trade?
Stunned. I really couldn't believe it. And the first thing I saw was your tweet of being like, surely Shams was hacked. I was like, I wonder what this was. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Surely he's hacked. And then you kind of sit there for a few minutes, like continue to scroll, and then it becomes real. Like,
he tweeted, "This is real."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even like, obviously, Luka getting traded is stunning, to say the least. He's a top 3 player at worst in the NBA.
Just drag that team to the NBA Finals.
And like Anthony Davis is no slouch. And I saw a tweet that really summed it up nicely. Was Luka's so good we're making Anthony Davis seem like he's Hassan Whiteside.
Yeah.
like Anthony Davis is probably first team this year.
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly. One of the best players in the league.
And he is only 31, not 38.
Yeah, a bad run of injuries for him, but I just don't get it. And then you see the press conference yesterday of all this, and then also to make it like even worse from the Dallas perspective, De'Aaron Fox gets traded for everything.
Yeah.
And you got 1 pick for Luka Doncic. Again, Davis, great. I couldn't care less how good he is. He's not good enough to trade Luka Doncic. The most insane trade of, honestly, all time. Any sport. I can't think of one other one. That was just
Especially
like
that
so
late at
stunning.
night, too, with that
Yeah,
many star
like-
play. Like, it was crazy.
After 12:30 midnight in Eastern time, like crazy.
Someone said, "Can you put it in a hockey terms?" It would be like Austin Matthews or Draisaitl getting traded for Kucherov. And
So-
that might even be
I got
high.
a good NFL one. It's Joe Burrow for Matthew Stafford.
There you go. Like, doesn't make any sense.
The hockey one I thought of because again, Davis is more on the defensive side of the ball. He's an elite defender.
Yeah.
What I thought about, considering the age gap too, would be like if you or this Saturday at midnight, because again, Doncic was just in the NBA Finals, and it's different because McDavid and Draisaitl, so that like changes the dynamic. But like to me, it is like if the Oilers randomly woke up on a Saturday and said, "We're trading Leon Draisaitl for Drew Doughty," and you were like, "Whoa, Drew Doughty will still have probably 3-4 more good years left in him.
Yeah.
Davis will too." But you traded a superstar, a top 5 player in the sport in his prime for a Hall of Fame level defender who's not what he used to be. To me, that's what it is. It's Doughty for Draisaitl and a first.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't think there is a comparable because this is so
crazy.
insane.
No one would do this.
And the Lakers, god damn it. Like those guys since like the 70s, every time they won something, Kareem, Will, Magic, Kobe, Shaq, Pau, LeBron, Luka, like come on. Everyone else has to sit through these crazy rebuilds. They had like 3 years of Jeremy Lin and Nick Young. Like unbelievable. In Canada, we had to watch Andre Bagnani do his
He was first
Primo
overall.
commercials, and it was the worst thing ever. Like everything. Sonny Weems, everyone remember him?
They call
Exactly.
their own, baby.
It's unbelievable.
I can't.
So
yeah,
dumb.
I can't believe it. That was a true stunner. That's one of those like, where were you kind of
I was playing
moments.
Cricket 24 between innings with my guy Dean Flat.
All right.
That's where I was.
Myles Garrett has asked for a trade out of Cleveland.
Yeah, I got my Lions jersey lined up.
I got my Bills jersey lined up. I honestly, one of us will get him.
I think they're probably 2 contenders. Money doesn't exist in the NFL,
No, it makes no sense.
so I think everyone's just kind of on the table for it. But yeah, it's just so silly again that Cleveland just couldn't figure it out.
I know.
Um,
It's wild.
There's another one on here that I wanted to bring up too
Okay.
quickly. Roll Up the Rim is back. That's going to be awesome. The second one is the Fortuna. You won't know who that is. They play in the Eredivisie, which is the Dutch Premier League equivalent. And they won a game this weekend against Hervina, I think is how you say it, 2-1. They had the win taken away because somehow they made a substitution and the guy just didn't sub and the ref didn't notice. So they played the last 40 minutes of the game with 12 players and the other team had 11.
And no one counted.
And no one knew. And the guy just somehow never subbed. So that was nuts. Also, great day for the Elks yesterday.
They
made some
signed
big
8
signings.
free agents.
Jake Serezna is back, baby.
Yeah, and they signed Trey Ford's twin brother.
Yeah,
who's a
and
really good player.
Niles Morgan is back.
Yeah.
It could be good.
Michael said it's basically the Rantanen trade. It's nothing close to the Rantanen trade.
No, because
It's not.
Martin Necas is still got a lot of tread on the tires.
Also, pending UFA changes the whole thing too,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, let's wrap up the show for our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. One game in the NHL tonight, I think probably because of Amazon. Nashville are home favorites against the Sens,
That
which
doesn't make any
is a little
sense.
confusing. Is Allmark playing or are they going with Forsberg again? I guess that would kind of change it because the lines even moved a lot over the last couple hours. Oh, it is Forsberg. So that does change it a little bit.
So the over.
Yeah, actually, honestly, over 5.5 might be a decent little shout. Minus 120. I like the over.
Yeah, I probably won't watch this game.
Nope. Why would you? I might go to the golf simulator tonight.
Oh, I got mine on Wednesday.
Ah, boy.
Yeah, I have a big co-ed game tonight. Looking to make it 4 in a row.
Attaboy. All right. That's a wrap.
Yeah, we'll see. We had some stuff on Skinner today. We'll save that for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Jay's here,
Oh, yeah, that'll be fun.
and I'll bring on my Bouchard stats too.
All right. Shout out to Louie DeBrusk. He was great, as always. Tomorrow, not sure who we have on the show yet, but we'll figure that out later. That's a conversation for another time. It's Monday.
I got Jay.
Yeah, we got Jay. We don't need anyone else. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow noon Mountain Time. Chat with you then. Oil up.